I'm Michelle McCartney. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Education Manager at LGBT Youth Scotland.
How did you use the data guide?
When we'd taken the data guide to the management team, we decided which questions or which reflective questions we were going to pick first. And then we engaged with our practitioners to say, is this useful to you? What do you think you're going to get out of it? And will the young people be able to, the young people within your group be able to respond to what we're looking for, basically? So I think we tried to pilot it over 4 to 6 weeks. And not only did we pilot within the youth work groups in the physical sense, as in just like we have here today, but also our online provision.
How did you use the self-evaluation framework?
The self-evaluation framework really, I introduced to our leadership team first, and we looked at it as a whole organisation. And then we discussed, okay, so who's this appropriate to, and how do we reflect really in a deep way and not just a surface level with the whole organisation. So we invited practitioners and managers and leadership team members to look at what the self-evaluation framework looked like.
What was the impact of using the resources? What did you learn about gender balance and equalities in your CLD service?
We are an LGBT service for young people across Scotland aged 13 to 25. And we try to provide safe experiences for young people. Now, we found that the majority, whilst we looked at the data profile, the majority of the young people that were engaging in our services were trans and non-binary. Now, there were really low numbers of girls and women that were accessing the service between 13 and 25. Now, we're talking about cis and trans girls and women. And we felt that we weren't sure why this gap was here. And having a look at the data guide and having a look at the data we were capturing through the self-evaluation framework allowed us to identify that quite quickly. Now, it was something that our youth work managers had already started to identify as part of their profiling that we do every year. But it's now around, we have an answer to this. We have the numbers, we have the data now to suggest that there are low numbers for particular groups of young people. And it's what do we do about that next? The data profile of our staff within the organisation, we also identified that it wasn't as balanced as we'd expect it to be. So again, part of the leadership team strategic vision may be to look at the ways that they recruit, the way that we are attracting practitioners to our service and organisation, and doing that in a fair and appropriate way as well, because we obviously want the best people to be working in our organisation to make Scotland the best place for young people to grow up, but it's really around making sure it's fair and equal and consistent.
What will you do now? What changes will you make to your service?
The work continues. We keep evaluating, we keep looking at what we're doing for practitioners and staff and what we're doing for the young people that we work with as well. We're hoping that we'll use the self-evaluation framework on a more regular basis, and by doing that it might be that we visit the quality indicators monthly, it might be that we look at that more regularly than that. To do something properly you need to spend a significant amount of time doing it, and by focusing on a small number of the quality indicators for the year ahead might be where we start at LGBT Youth Scotland, because the framework isn't potentially something that we had been using before. But we're very familiar with frameworks and self-evaluation. By adding this aspect, it allows us to be very clear, and especially because we are an equalities organisation, that we are still steering everything in our organisation and our strategic vision in the right way.
Do you have any advice for other CLD providers thinking of using their resources?
I don't believe that this is an added extra for anyone. I believe that this is practice that is ongoing. It should be something that you have as part of your vision as an organisation or as a school or as a workplace. It doesn't really matter what your setting is. If you're engaging with young people and you're trying to provide the best service that you can, having a really great self-evaluation toolkit to use that shows you're inclusive and that shows that you have an equality balance is so beneficial and so important to the young people that you're working with, and in fact the staff that are within your organisation. You're making a very strong statement that you believe in equalities and that you are doing the right thing for the people of Scotland. Advice for other organisations would be to certainly do on a more strategic meeting, for example, or have it as part of your work improvement plan for the year going ahead, just like what we're about to do. But if you have it as part of your strategic vision, or if you have it as part of your ongoing equalities work or ongoing evaluations, it shouldn't be something that's hugely different from what you're currently doing. You should know the data profile of the young people you work with, the service users that you work with, or the staff that you have within you. By having that data guide and having the data profile is hugely important and really beneficial for you to know where your gaps are as an organisation, and how to make sure that you're being a lot more balanced than previously.